Good afternoon, esteemed traders and investors. Today is Friday, January 23rd. I present to your attention another market review for InstaForex. As always, I'm glad to be here with you today. So, I'll start with the news. Today, the Bank of Japan's press conference began, and there has been very active movement. By the way, an interesting trading idea has played out, which we will now discuss on the chart. Let's get started. So, let's start with gold quotes, which I'm currently watching on the 1-minute chart. They're putting incredible pressure on the 4,937 level. I think it will be broken through in the near future. There have already been several attempts, so we're actually expecting a collapse during the European session. Yesterday, the euro-dollar pair heroically tested, as I broadcasted, therefore a 50% pullback and then surged upward. It hasn't yet surpassed yesterday's high, which makes for a very interesting situation. The 50% zone is located here. And those savvy traders who bought in this specific zone yesterday during the early Asian session are already sitting deep in a very substantial profit. But what about those who didn't? For them, there's still another retracement level around 1.16, the level of 900 and so on, this specific price zone right here. If this zone gets tested and the platform remains completely untouched between January 20th and the trading session from yesterday, then you can play out an interesting three-wave corrective or impulsive structure based on the long initiative seen yesterday. That's quite a realistic scenario. Of course, we could drop even deeper, but in that case, we'd have to execute a purchase within this specific vicinity, in this zone where the pound-dollar pair demonstrates a high level of confidence. Yesterday, the trading idea for the pound worked out. We had planned to buy. Following this significant long break in the market, we observed a clear pullback to that level, which eventually led into a strong third wave moving upward to successfully update the January 20th high. Congratulations to all the traders who recognized this pattern and participated in the move.
Looking for real trading advantages? InstaForex offers the lowest spreads and commissions. On major currency pairs, our conditions are better. Lower spreads and only $5 commission instead of $7. That's real savings for every trader. And now, let's get back to the market review.
Now, skipping over to the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar pair, we can see that Australian dollar, Canadian dollar is currently falling. However, it was previously mentioned that this corrective phase is still ongoing. At the same time, the broader weakening of the US dollar is in full swing across the markets, influencing these price movements significantly. It's a full-on rally. This is happening, but in order to sell this instrument, we need some good pullbacks, which we don't have at the moment. But yesterday there were some hints, but right now the prices, of course, are not the best. By the way, let me remind you that the instrument is near one of the long breakouts from January 7th, and from here, by the way, a correction could happen. And the dollar-yen pair acted up a bit today, but they tested it at the press conference, or rather, right before the press conference, they tested a great short breakout with a stop of about $400. The profits reached a total of 1,600, that's 4-1, on the level that I, in fact, specifically identified and highlighted with my analytical finger after January 20th. Right now, the market is currently experiencing a slight pullback, and interestingly, we've got another short breakout, which has already been slightly tested, but it's possible they'll attempt to retest that level once more. If you are willing to risk 7 to 10 ticks at a value of 700 points each and take a profit of almost 1,200 points, you could certainly take a chance on a short position right here. You could definitely say that this spot is looking pretty good. At the very least, it is clear that the market tried to break down below these levels during the session. There might be a third wave down, but for now, it hasn't happened.
I also want to remind you that every InstaForex client automatically receives loss insurance. For every $1 of compensation, only $4 of your friend's investments are required. Just submit a request, and your losses will be recovered. Let's continue with the review.
As for oil, oil is slowly creeping upward. In other words, it's falling, then rising. Basically, it's also holding around the expiration level, but the 62.53 level is pulling. 62.33 as well. I hope it will be broken through. If not from here, then a bit lower, from 56. You can try your luck with a long position in oil. Thank God, there's still almost a whole month until expiration. Bitcoin, my friends, is standing in sorrow after the crash. Today is Friday and the week is closing at the bottom. This is good news for those who want to buy, but not at $89,000, rather at around 93. And that would certainly be interesting, with a stop just above 97. As for the American stock market is rising from the ashes, but at the same time it's testing the short breakdown zone. By that I mean the Standard & Poor's 500 index, and by the way, starting from this point, there have already been some initial attempts at a market rebound. But as for the instrument itself, it is currently facing its own set of challenges and difficulties as well. Also testing the short breakdown zone. I remind you, these instruments are bullish and it's better to look for long breakouts in them. I keep talking about this. Dollar franc is stuck in a slump, as I show on the 4-hour chart. It is sitting below the short breakdown, which should be highlighted in a vivid red color. This indicates that there are plenty of targets below. There are a significant number of targets below. So the instrument is very clearly under pressure. For those who haven't sold yet, the nearest short breakdowns are still quite high up. But if they offer it at 0.79400, it might be worth selling, something like that. As for Canadian dollar, Swiss franc, and moving on, the kids are asking me about New Zealand dollar. The instrument has dropped below the low in Australian dollar. Canadian dollar stretched out very well, moved 600 points. You could already throw in 1 or 2 legs here. Let me remind you, this is a trading day for building a grid of limit sell orders with a test of the mirror level from above at 0.93757. You can add small volumes with a step of 500 right from the current levels.
With InstaForex, you can triple your profit. For every $4 of your friend's investments, you automatically get an extra $1 added to your profit, with no extra conditions.
In New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc, the three-wave structure has finally closed. Unlike US dollar, Swiss franc. This indicates that the franc is clearly weakening. You can even see it through this instrument, but the dollar is weakening even more if we talk about US dollar, Swiss franc. But here, its own three-wave pattern has closed, so for the grid of limit buy orders, we're only interested in prices below last year's lows. As for the Australian pairs, the New Zealander continues to stay within the range and isn't dropping. Those who are holding short positions still have a chance. There are quite a few of them. I hope you're holding your positions in accounts without swap charges as part of my partnership program with InstaForex. Look at Euro. Australian dollar, what a drop. Amazing. Let me remind you, the instrument has already moved 14,000 points from the highs. Basically, it dropped to the mirror level and essentially from the current levels as well. You can start accumulating it in increments of limit buy orders, but here it's better to use 1,000 and accumulate from the current levels and lower with a test of this mirror level. On the other hand, Euro, Australian dollar is still trading within a range for now. We're interested in prices above this year's highs.
We also have a great offer. Fund your account and get a 30% tradable bonus. Trade with additional capital and expand your opportunities with InstaForex.
And silver is still quite expensive. It hasn't shown any short impulses for selling yet. And for buying, the prices are very high right now. People often ask me to comment on gas, which I really can't stand. But let's finally do it. Gas. Gas is surging. All right, let's remember where we left off. We left off at the point where, just a few days ago, and I myself, your humble narrator, unfortunately, does not always happen to be far-sighted. The servant was specifically referring to the act of taking a much closer look at the long breakdown, which is exactly where he started his trades. I, who today, or maybe yesterday, gladly rewrote everything according to the classic genre. A move down, a test of the long breakdown. So if you took half a buck, you could have already made almost 2. A good move. Basically, for now, I don't see anything here except for a new long breakdown, which is a little higher up, right in this zone. Friends, InstaForex offers a free consultation with a personal trading consultant. Follow the link in the video description, fill out the callback form, and gain access to exclusive offers and special trading conditions. BRT Plus for risk-free trading. That's all. Trade with InstaForex, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for new reviews.